Good morning, everybody. We're back. Corey Hughes, Bloody History. So, we're going to continue with the testimony of Marguerite Oswald today. I think I'm going to break this up a little bit because we have probably 15, 20 episodes to get through of Marguerite Oswald's testimony because it's pretty goddamn long. So, tomorrow we'll probably start to tackle something else. I've got some pretty cool documents to review. So, let us begin. And they were talking about exhibit numbers and photographs and stuff, and I think that's where we're gonna pick up right here. All right. So the document heretofore marked Commission's Exhibit number 169 for identification was received in evidence. Mr. Rankin then asks, "Do you recall the date?" Mrs. Oswald says, "I left there on the 28th. I think she's talking about the Six Flags Inn. So it would have to be the 27th. It would have to be the 27th. Now, there were other people that offered her home. So they're talking about how there was some tension between Marguerite and Marina because Marina was offered to go live in some rich person's house, right? So now there were other people that offered her homes. Rankin then asks, "But you seem to think there was something improper or bad about your son Robert wanting to get your daughter Marina taken care of in this manner. I don't understand that. Can you explain it?" Yes. Well, no, as I've explained before, Robert and I are not close. We're not close as a family. But Robert is a very easygoing person. He's not opinionated, particularly like I am. My older son and Lee are my disposition. But because you're a Secret Service man or somebody, if you tell him something, he will go along and say, and yes you. So he was part of this arrangement. They probably had to have his consent, but he knew of the arrangement with Mr. Gregory and Marina. They all knew it, but me. I was not consulted about this at all. Do you think Robert was trying to do something bad by it, or just trying to look out for? He thought it was a good idea that Marina should go and live in this home, but I took a different attitude. I'm not interested in material things, gentlemen. I then went into my speech that I thought as a family, Marina and I should stick together and face our future together. I could see no reason, and I made this at the Six Flags and have made it public in the newspapers. I could see no reason, no advantage of Marina living with strangers. I said that before. I thought it would be better, original idea, Marina and I had made, to live in my apartment. And we do the best we can. And I even said, we have $863 to start with, and then if we don't make it, what about you helping us? But give us a chance as a family. Don't put the girl in a strange home, a Russian girl, a foreign girl, taken away from her mama. Marina has no mother and father. She has a stepfather, but I was her mama up until this time, and I could not see Marina in a strange home. Well, I'm going to prove this story to you. It's a fantastic story, but as I go along, I have witnesses, and that is why I asked you, sir. I would like these people called back up to these fantastic stories I'm telling you. It can be proven, sir. So I had no further contact with my daughter-in-law once they came out and said what they had planned. I had no inkling of it. That was they wanted to keep her and the children away from me. That night, the night of November 27th now, we were in a bedroom with twin beds that we shared. They opened the studio couch in the living room and rolled June's bed, the baby bed, in the living room, sir. What do you mean by they? The Secret Service had the maid come in with sheets and everything, and they opened the sofa into a bed. The Secret Service rolled the baby bed from the bedroom into the living room, and I knew that I was not wanted or involved. And I have a very dignified way about me. I didn't say a word. What I did, I sat up in a chair all night long in the living room, rather than to be so indignant as to sleep in the bedroom where they had taken my daughter-in-law from me. I sat up in a chair in the living room rather than be pushed aside like I was being pushed aside. Well now, what Secret Service men were these? Mr. Howard? Mr. Howard was involved in this other man. The same man? This same man, and my son is in this too. Robert was part of the conspiracy, that they were going to let her to go to a home and they didn't tell me, and Mr. Peter Gregory. And did they move your daughter-in-law out into the living room? Yes, sir. She slept on the sofa, and they moved June's baby bed from the bedroom into the living room by my daughter-in-law. And I sat in a chair. I can do that. I'm a nurse, and I can do without sleep. and I had all the papers. I told you that the night before they took me home to get my papers, and that is why I knew I had the insurance money. So I started to work on the papers, and I sat up all night long. What did Marina say about that arrangement? There was nothing said between Marina and I. The last time I had seen Marina was when she shrugged me off, and then this came out, why she shrugged me off. I've had no contact with Marina since. Now, why do you think there is a conspiracy about this? Can you explain that to us? About this particular instance? Yes. Well, I don't say that this is a particular instance, but it is certainly a very unusual way to do a thing, a very unusual way, not to consult me. Marina and I were friends. She was going to come and live with me. I was going to share my money with her, and then they went ahead and planned all this without my knowledge. Maybe you know the answer to it. I don't know. But there was no hard feelings. Even now, I love Marina, and I would take and help her any way I can. So I don't understand these things. But I'm telling you the way things happen, the way I was excluded, and your Secret Service agents had part of this. And you do not think Robert and the Secret Service agents could be acting in good faith to try to just help Marina and her children along? Well, I cannot see from my point of view that it would be good that a foreign girl lives with a stranger, a perfect stranger who has come to the police department and offered her a home. We're talking about a perfect stranger. If she's a perfect stranger, maybe she wasn't. I have no way of knowing, but I'm going to assume what I read. It would be much better for this girl to go live in this stranger's home than to be with her family. This girl and my grandchildren needed a family, which I was that family. I cannot see that. What I'm asking you is, do you think it possible that Robert was just mistaken when he and the Secret Service man, if they are involved, thought this might be a good plan? Isn't it possible they were trying to do the right thing? No, sir, I think it was deliberate. I am sure. I don't think. I am positive it was deliberate, and I will tell you why as we go along. Now, you said you thought it was deliberate. I'm trying to get everything in so you can get a clear picture. Well, this plan to have your daughter-in-law go and live with another lady, Mrs. Pultz, you said that you did not think it could be innocent or in good faith. Yes, because then the same Secret Service man that I don't know his name, now I may be wrong about this, just a moment. No, this is not the same man. One of the other Secret Service men had gone to talk to Robert's boss because Robert was worried about his job. So this happened in the afternoon. I had no contact with Marina, and he came in front of me, he patted Robert on the shoulder and said, "Now, Robert, I've talked to your boss, and you're all right." I assured him that you are not involved in any way. So, gentlemen, Marina is taken care of. Robert's taken care of. I'm not feeling sorry for myself, believe me, because I can take care of myself. But here's a mother who has come to the rescue, lost her job, offered her good love and insurance money, and nobody has wondered what's going to become of me. Well, did you think it was improper that the Secret Service man would go to Robert's boss and tell him he was not involved and that there was nothing improper? No, sir, I do not. I think it was a fine gesture, and that is the point I'm trying to make out. Why are these fine gestures? To see that Marina is going to have a home and be taken care of, and Robert's job is secure. But I am nothing. I was not included in the plans, and what is going to become of me? I have no income. I have no job. I lost my job, and nobody thought about me. I don't mean to imply I'm sorry for myself. I'm trying to bring about a point that through all of this, that I have not been considered even as much as to testify. I want to know why. I don't understand why. It is very strange. I packed during the night, sat up in the chair, and I said, so the next morning, I am on my way home. I have no purpose to be there. I was helping my daughter-in-law and helping the children, but now I'm out of everything. So I insist on going home. Before going home, I asked to tell Marina Goodby and my grandchildren what they have done this morning, and they have taken out her clothes from these quarters and brought her next door to the other quarters out of the inn. It is just one door and a little courtyard to the other. What day is this? This is the 28th. So the agent that was taking me home, I'm sorry, but I'm very bad at names, and there were so many agents, it is awfully hard for me to remember it all. I told him that I wanted to tell Marina that I was going. He knocked on the door. The Russian interpreter from the State Department, Mrs. Gopadze, Gopadze, came to the door, and the agent said, Mrs. Oswald is going home and wants to tell Marina and the children goodbye. He said, well, we are interviewing her, and she's on tape. We will get in touch with you. So I never saw Marina after that time. Now, what worried me was that what Marina thought. What did Marina know of this, and what did she think? Did she think I deserted her? Did they think I left without telling goodbye? This worried me very much. I could picture the girl. What did she think? I didn't even get to tell her goodbye. So I tried in vain to see Marina. I have called Mr. F.V. Sorrells, Forrest Sorrells, over and over again, and he's never told me that Marina did not want to see me, and this gentleman I have proof of. He always said, well, Mrs. Oswald, I'm not able to diverge where she is, and the regular push around. He's not telling me plainly, and I'm not going to see Marina. He is being very courteous to me, but not letting me see Marina. If I'm making this plain, and I have publicly blasted that, over and over I have tried unsuccessfully. Mr. Mark Lane, who's representing my son, talked with Mr. Jim Martin and Mr. Thorne. Jim Martin is Marina's business manager, and Mr. Thorne is her attorney. And Mr. Jim Martin and Thorne have stated to Mr. Mark Lane that Marina did not want to talk to me. Now, this is approximately a month ago. I would say when I first engaged Mr. Lane, and Mr. Mark Lane said to me that he was not satisfied when he gave me the information. I said, no, I want Marina to tell me that. How did I know it was Marina's quote? Mr. Sorrells never told me that Marina did not want to talk to me. But this was told to Mr. Mark Lane, but I would not take that as a quote. I wanted to hear it from Marina. So we persistently tried to see Marina. When I say we, almost every reporter in the city of Fort Worth and Dallas has tried to see Marina. Mr. Mark Lane has tried to see Marina. Mr. Olds, who is the head of the Civil Liberties Association, I don't know if that's the proper name, in Fort Worth, has tried to see Marina. And there have been many prominent people trying to see Marina because they could not understand how Marina could be under such strict surveillance that no one could be allowed to see Marina. There have been many, many people that question this. It has been questioned why Marina would be under such strict seclusion for 6 weeks and not a soul seeing Marina. I say not a soul. My son saw Marina at Christmas time and probably had seen her before that. His family went with him. I checked with my daughter-in-law, Vada, and she said she went with Robert for Christmas time. It came over the news in Fort Worth that Marina's brother-in-law, Lee's brother, would be with her at Christmas time, and Mrs. Marguerite Oswald was unavailable for news. Gentlemen, I stayed home crying, hoping against hope that the Secret Service would come and let me be with my family for Christmas time, waiting there patiently. I was available for news. I had blasted this in the paper over and over. I waited for them to come and get me. But there again, I am excluded. Do you know the answers to all these exclusions? I do not. The first time Marina ever made any statement or public appearance was approximately 2 weeks ago, or maybe not that long. She was on an exclusive television program, Channel 4 in Fort Worth, Texas, when she stated publicly that in her mind she thought that Lee shot the president. What an awful thing for this 22-year-old foreign girl to think. She thinks in her mind. She doesn't know, but she thinks, gentlemen. That tape can be sent back to you. That was her quote. I watched every television program, and I took it down in black and white. In my mind, I think Lee shot President Kennedy. She doesn't know our American way of life. Lee Harvey Oswald will be the accused assassin of President Kennedy when this information is over with, believe me. She's a Russian girl, and maybe they do this in Russia, but what I am going to say is that Marina Oswald was brainwashed by the Secret Service, who have kept her in seclusion for 8 weeks. 8 weeks, gentlemen, with no one talking to Marina. Marina does not read English. Marina does not know none of the facts from the newspaper account. The only way Marina can get facts is through what the FBI and Secret Service are probably telling her, or some of the facts that Marina has manufactured since. I'm sorry, gentlemen, but this is a true story. What do you base your claim on that Marina was brainwashed? Because for 8 weeks, no one has been allowed to see Marina. I do not believe in my mind that this is an American way of life. I question the fact that it is even legal, that they can keep her in strict seclusion with no one seeing her for 8 weeks, gentlemen. Now, there may be a reason for that. I don't know. But the American people want some answer to that. I have over 1,500 letters questioning that. The papers have blasted it continuously. If she didn't have somebody to look out for her, this is Rankin talking, do you think the various people wanted to see her would keep her so busy she could not even take care of the children? Now, Mr. Rankin, I'm not saying, even implying, that the Secret Service should not protect my daughter-in-law. I'm grateful for that and have expressed it. I am most grateful she has protection. But would there have been any harm for me to talk to Marina with the Secret Service around and let Marina tell me that she does not want to see me? Well, let's leave you out of it. What about all the rest of the people that would want or did want to see Marina? All right. And take her time while she had to take care of the children. I agree with that. Marina should not see every Tom, Dick, and Harry. I think they are doing a wonderful job in protecting her. But when Mark Lane, who is an attorney, requested it so we can solve this to just let Marina tell him that she doesn't want to see her mama, and Mr. Olds, who was the head of the civil liberties, was refused permission to see her. Then we question it. No, I don't think all the people should see Marina, but people are asking these questions, Mr. Rankin. They want to know why a high official cannot see Marina to satisfy the public's demand. Well, Marina had her own counsel at the time, she said. Mr. Thorne was her attorney. Yes, now we will get to Mr. Thorne. When I first contacted Mr. Thorne, I said, Mr. Thorne, how is my daughter-in-law and grandchildren? And Mr. Thorne really apologized to me. He said, Mrs. Oswald, they are fine, but I'm unable to divulge their whereabouts. He volunteered the information to me. And I said, well, sir, I'm not asking where they are, because I had already, by the time she got this attorney, by the time I had contacted him, we'd been fighting this thing to see Marina. But he volunteered the information. He said, your daughter-in-law and grandchildren are fine, but I am not able to divulge their whereabouts. I said, I'm not asking about their whereabouts. I said that I had Lee's Marine book, which is a big, colorful book, The Life of a Marine that Lee had sent to me, and Lee's baby book, that I had in my possession ever since he was a baby, that I gave Marina and Lee when they returned to Russia, and my husband's gold pocket watch that I had all those years I gave to Lee. So I asked Mr. Thorne about these things, and he said he would inquire about it. I said, Mr. Thorne, while I am on the phone, I do want to bring something up. While I was at Six Flags, the day I left, the morning I left, is the first time that sympathy cards started coming in and money. And these envelopes were addressed to Mrs. Marina Oswald and Marguerite Oswald, or Mrs. Marguerite Oswald and Marina, to both. The Secret Service started to open the envelopes, and there were checks and cash. But because of my prior story that they had pushed me aside, I said, now my money that's come in, and that says, and mother, and I definitely want my share. Believe me, gentlemen, I never received 1 penny. Rankin asks, what did he say about that? They said yes, and my son was there when I said that. They would divide it. If it was a $10 bill and it said mother of Lee and the wife, and I would get 5 and Marina would get 5. So when I talked to Mr. Thorne, I said, I want to tell you, Mr. Thorne, while I was at Six Flags, I know of monies coming in, but I have never received a penny. But I want to know what the Secret Service the Secret Service was in my home, because they were in my home from the 28th until the 3rd, I believe it was. 3rd of what? This would be December, because this was the 28th of November, approximately the 3rd. The money that came into my house that way, Mrs. Marguerite Oswald and Marina Oswald, the Secret Service divided it right there and then. If it was a $10 bill, I got 5, and they took 5 to give to Marina. Whether Marina ever got the money or not, I have no way of knowing. But the money in my house was divided and shared. A share was given to Marina. But I never did get the share from the Secret Service at the time. So 2 weeks later, how much did the amount to that was divided in your home, asks Rankin. Very little. My contributions up to now are just a little over $900, about $905. That's the money that's been given direct to me, the mother of Lee Harvey Oswald. So about 3 weeks later, see, that's so weird how she would say that. Me, the mother of Lee Harvey Oswald. Why would you say that like that? You wouldn't. So about 3 weeks later, now Mr. Lane comes in. He has all these documents and all these dates and everything. I don't know about the dates. Mr. Thorne, from Mr. Thorne's office and Mr. Martin, I received an envelope about this size with mail for me, Mrs. Marguerite Oswald and Marina. Everyone opened, gentlemen. Opened, no cash, but checks made out to Mrs. Marguerite Oswald, that nobody else, of course, could have any benefit from at this late date. And there were checks way in November, in the beginning of December, and they were all held this time. But until I complained, then they decided to send them to me. Mr. Lane has in his possession photostatic copies of my mail that has been opened by the Fort Worth police. I had a tip from a reporter that my mail at the mayor's office and the Fort Worth police and the chief of police was being photostatic copied. So I sent a telegram, and I have these things. You will have everything I have to teach one. The same telegram saying that any mail addressed to Mrs. Marguerite Oswald should be forwarded to her immediately, to me immediately at 2220 Thomas Place. I received no mail. So here's another interesting thing. We talked about this a bunch of times before, but Marguerite Oswald is living at 2220 Thomas Place. Okay. This is also the place that she was living in 1954 when Harvey Oswald was attending Stripling. Remember, 2220 Thomas Place is directly across from Stripling. We have the statements of Frank Coodlady and Franchetta Schubert that place Oswald there, right? So, but this woman here is living at 2220 Thomas Place, which is actually right up the road from the Birchwood residence, if I'm not mistaken. 3 days later, I received no mail. So I called Mr. Sorrells and told Mr. Sorrells about the trip I had, and I knew it was a positive trip. I could feel sure this young man was giving me the right information. I had much information that the public knows that they have helped me in this case, Mr. Rankin. So Mr. Sorrells sent Mr. Seals, I think his name was, a Secret Service man down, and the chief of police gave Mr. Seals, "We have this, my mail opened, and photostatic copies. I can produce this evidence." Now, what right? I'm not an attorney, but we have a moral issue throughout all this that I'm fighting for. If the mail went to the police chief, Mrs. Marguerite Oswald, in care of the police chief, well, it could be that they have the legal right to open such mail, but they do not have the moral right because I was an international figure and everybody knew my address, and the chief of police and everybody else knew my address, and that mail should have remained unopened. How much cash was taken out of those mails? I do not know. And I'm not really saying there was, but there is quite a possibility that it was. Then I received another package from Mr. Thorne, and my mail was opened. I called Mr. Sorrells about that. He said he knew nothing about it. First, I called Mr. Thorne, and he said that is the way he got the mail. So then I called Mr. Sorrells, and he said he knew nothing about it. I said, "Mr. Sorrells, I'm getting awfully tired of this. Mr. Thorne doesn't know how my mail is being opened. He says that he got the mail from the Secret Service. And now you're telling me that you do not give the mail to Mr. Thorne. Where does my mail come from opened?" So nobody knows anything about this, the things that have happened to me. My rights have been invaded continuously. Every newspaper clipping was taken out of my home. 3 letters from Lee from Russia. I offered all of my information, as I explained over and over to the Secret Service, and while in my house, I was showing them things because I was proud of the things I have. And I think, gentlemen, when you see everything I have, you will see a different picture of this boy. There were 3 letters taken from my letters from Lee. And how I came to know that, a New York reporter had offered, he was going to write a story and had offered to buy 3 of my letters. I told him he could have his choice, and so he looked through the letters, and I looked through them with him, and I missed these 3. These 3 letters would have been of importance to the Secret Service and to our government. But you must remember, I have offered over and over to give any information I have. One letter that Marina's uncle was a colonel in the Russian army. I may produce this now. Is that what we need to do next, the letters? Representative Boggs asks, "Was a colonel in what?" Pardon? One letter, he said he was a colonel in what? That's Marina's uncle was a colonel in the Russian army. Would you like to look at these letters while I continue, Mr. Doyle? Are these the lost letters? No, sir. These are letters from Lee to me from Russia. From Lee to me from Russia. Dulles then asks, "I thought you said 3 were lost." Yes, 3 were lost. The one about the Russian colonel was lost. That the Secret Service men took. 3 letters, but that would be of importance to them. But I offered to give it to them, but they were taken from my home. How did you get them back? I'm going to tell the story, and I have witnesses. So when I missed them, Mr. Jack Langueth, Langueth, who we can call as a witness, who was a reporter for the New York Times, wanted to pay me for the letters. He printed the story in the paper with the 3 letters that he bought from me. 3 different letters I am talking about now, and printed how many letters I had, including the 3 letters that the FBI man, that Marina's uncle was a colonel. He printed the things in the paper. So approximately 5 or 6 days later, the Secret Service man and I, can find his picture probably, came to my home and returned the 3 letters and got a receipt from me for the 3 letters. How much did this reporter offer to pay you for the letters and other things? I got $50 for each letter, and I have the receipt. I don't understand yet, says Mr. Rankin. You offered to sell him letters or let him have the use of them for $50 apiece? Yes, sir. $150. Yes, sir. And then he published them? No. Yes. He published the letters. It was published in the New York Times, the 3 letters. Then they were returned to you? No, he never did take the letters. Mr. Langueth never did take the letters he bought from me out of my hand. As I told you, gentlemen, he went to a photostatic place and the letters were copied, and I kept the originals. He paid me $50. That was printed in the story. But the 3 letters the Secret Service men had, he printed in the story about Marina's uncle being a colonel in the Russian army. And that is the letter that the Secret Service man had. And you did not get paid for those at all. No, these are different letters. So they returned those letters to me, the Secret Service, and I gave them a receipt for it when they took them. So I'm trying to point out the fact that I got 3 letters back. I would think because the story in the paper said the Secret Service had these 3 letters and parts of what they contained. So the 3 letters were returned to me, and I had to sign a receipt for those 3 letters. Am I making that clear now? May I have some water, please? Are we going to get these letters in the record? Yes, sir. Let me get the letters in the record then. And Mr. Doyle says, let me go off the record for a minute, and they discuss the record, blah, blah, blah. Mrs. Oswald then says, I'm not able to go into the defection now because I am not through with this part. The defection starts an entirely different story if you want to know the true facts, and it will take quite a while. What sticks in my mind is this one particular letter about Marina's uncle. The other two, I'm not quite sure. What does it say about her uncle? Well, I have to find the letters. I want to say this, gentlemen, and maybe you're not in agreement with me, but all my life I have known and I have thought that a title does make a man. It may be presumptuous of me that I am accusing the Secret Service because they are the Secret Service, but they are men in our government and the Secret Service who are undesirable just like any other organization, let's face it. We have such men as Bobby Baker, who was a citizen well thought of, Charles Van Doren, who was well thought of, Mr. Fred Korth, who was under investigation. He was a wonderful citizen, and I can go on, yet these men turned out to be the right type. Turned out not to be the right type. I say this because my son was a self-styled Marxist and a known defector, and that is why his guilt was proven by the Dallas police. And my son had been a senator. Had my son been a senator or someone in the higher field, maybe they would not have picked him up so fast. Now that is a fact of our way of life, of human nature. Having a title doesn't mean you are the man in back of the title. Could we take those letters now and have the reporter identify them? Here is the one about the uncle in the army. That is one I'm sure of. Now, I did not finish the story of the woman offering Marina a home. I have not finished that story, really. This affidavit that I showed you about the woman offering Marina a home the morning of the 28th, I picked up the newspaper and I read it in the newspaper. I will be through with this story in 1 minute. I picked up the newspaper on the 28th of November and I read it in the newspaper where this woman had offered Marina a home. So I said to the agent that was sitting up, everybody was sleeping, and as I told you, I sat up all night. This was 1963 after the assassination. 1963, November 28th. It was on the 27th that I knew my daughter was offered a home. Nothing was said where. In fact, at the time, I thought she was going to live at Mr. Gregory's home. I just thought that. I did not ask. I was so hurt, I did not ask. But on the morning of the 28th, I picked up the paper and read this story about the woman going to Dallas police offering Marina a home. So I said to this agent, evidently, that is who Marina is going to live with. But I did not know. On the 28th is when I saw the story of the woman offering Marina the home. Now, Mr. Rankin asks, you have produced a number of letters that you described as being letters received from your son, Lee Oswald, while he was in the Soviet Union? Yes, sir. And we've asked you if you could identify the 3 letters the Secret Service brought back to you and asked you to give a receipt for. You said this is difficult, if not impossible, for you to do that. Is that right? No, sir, I did not say that. I said that the letter, on one letter I was sure of because it stated that her uncle was an officer in the Soviet Union. That letter I'm sure of. The other 2 letters, I would have to go through the letters. I think I could spot them because it would be of importance to our country and the Secret Service to know. In other words, it was important for them to know she had an uncle in the Soviet Union. And the other 2 letters would be on that order. And I believe maybe I could. I would not want to state a fact that these 2 letters I think would be pretty close to choosing the other 2 letters as the proper letters. Mrs. Oswald, I wonder if it would be agreeable to you if we would identify all of those letters that you received from your son while he was in the Soviet Union. And then possibly when we recess, you could look them over and see. Yes, sir, that's perfectly all right. See if you can pick out the ones you gave a receipt for. That is perfectly all right. Any way you want to do it is all right with me. Rankin then says, Mr. Reporter, I will ask you to mark them, and Mr. Liebler, will you help in the marking? Because the letters are covered with glassine, and it may be hard to mark them with ink. I think by putting those stickers on, we can help you. Mrs. Oswald says, not all of the letters have dates. I think by taking the date on the back of the envelope would be all right. And if we had them in order, I don't know if they're still in order, but we had them by the dates. Rankin says, Mr. Reporter, I offer in evidence Exhibits 170 to 179, both inclusive being pictures of the funeral and the casket that Mrs. Oswald produced here for the commission. All right, let me just take a minute here. Let me see if I can find these. Warren Commission Exhibit 170 to 179. Let me see, 170. Let me see. It should be in volume 1, right? 170. Nope, that's not there. All right, here we go. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. We have a problem, ladies and gentlemen. So he says here, Mr. Reporter, I offer in evidence exhibits 170 to 179, both inclusive, being pictures of the funeral and the casket that Mrs. Oswald has produced here for the commission and asked to leave substitute copies. Okay, so that is accurate. Looking at photos of 170 to 179 are photographs taken at Lee Harvey Oswald's funeral. That is correct. But I thought we were going to look for these letters, right? So where are the letters marked? Let me see here. It's Mr. Rankin says, I then offer various letters that Mrs. Oswald produced that she said were sent by her son, Lee Harvey Oswald, from the Soviet Union. And I think it would be better for our record if I briefly state the date that the envelope bears in each case so it can be compared with the number. And the chairman says very well. So Exhibit 180. Let's see if we got that. Yes. It says here, Exhibit 180 bears the date of July 18th, 1961 on the envelope. Let's look at this letter. All right. Can I read this? Yes, it's got a transcription. Thank God. Dear Mother, received your letter today and was surprised that you are working on a ranch. Where is Cromwell, Texas, anyway? How is it you decided to go there? I'm glad you think Marina is beautiful, and I shall be good to her. She doesn't have a mother and a father. They are dead. But she has a lot of aunts and uncles here in Minsk and also in Leningrad, where she was born. She was living at her aunt's place when I met her. They are real nice, and her uncle is a major in the Soviet army. She worked as a druggist. She finished the university 2 years ago for that occupation. We're in good health, and I'm glad you are with good people also. Love, Lee. P.S. Marina sends her love also. So, and this is written in Oswald's chicken scratch handwriting. You know, this is kind of crazy because when you look at Oswald's handwriting, and I'm going to actually have to spend some time researching Oswald's handwriting because there's clear differences. Like when you look at the handwriting on the application for the Texas School Book Depository and some of the later stuff, it was fairly neat handwriting. But Oswald's handwriting, as we know, has been chicken scratch his whole freaking life, right? All right, so the next one would be, that one's July 1861. Let's see if they have another one here. Mr. Rankin, is that an American or the Russian postmark? That's an American postmark. And Mr. Dulles says time of receipt in this country. That's right. Now, Mrs. Oswald, I understand from you there was one letter before the letter bearing the date July 1861 on the American postmark on the envelope. Do you not have that here? I may have it here. I may have more papers and documents. I have a suitcase almost full that I have not yet opened. The suitcase was lost. We did not receive it until about 9 o'clock last night. You have not produced it today, though. No, but there is one more letter. It is the very first letter I received from Lee. I call attention to this is Mr. Rankin. I call attention to the commission to the statement in Exhibit 180. She was living at her aunt's place when I met her. They are real nice people. Her uncle is a major in the Soviet army. Exhibit 181, dated August 3rd, 61, was the envelope postmarked United States, August 10th, 61. I also offer that Exhibit 182, dated October 2nd, 61, with the American postmark October 10th, 61. I also offer that in each case, Mr. Chairman, I ask leave to substitute copies in accordance with our understanding. The chairman says, yes, we will make the blanket ruling on all of them when you finish. Yes, sir. Exhibit 183, dated October 22nd, 59, with the American postmark on the envelope October 30th, 61. I offer it. Did you say 1959 and then 61? 61. Is it all 61? You're correct. October 22nd, 59 is the date on the letter. And Mrs. Oswald says, that is incorrect. And Mr. Rankin says, on the envelope, it is October 30th, 61, Vernon, Texas. Mrs. Oswald, can you explain that? Yes, evidently Lee put the date incorrect because I had no contact with Lee from the time. I had one contact with Lee from the time that he defected to Russia. And the only contact was when he was at the Metropole Hotel in Moscow. And then the next contact was when the State Department wrote me his address, which was in July or June of 61. So where Lee put the 1959, I would say it was just an error because the postmark proves the date. Okay, so that sounds like a total crock of bullshit, right? Whenever you got something that says one thing, but they say, oh no, it must have just been a mistake. Hey, trust me, there's lots of mistakes, okay? There are. Like Carl Day putting AM instead of PM on the fucking, the rifle stuff in the book depository, right? That was a mistake. This doesn't seem like a mistake to me. Let's go read this letter. Let me see. This is Commission's Exhibit 183 is what they're talking about. So let's go to Commission's Exhibit 183. Letter from Lee Harvey Oswald to Marguerite Oswald dated October 22nd, 1959 with envelope. So let's look at this. Where's the envelope? Let me see. All right, I'll read this. And let me see. Does it have? Yes, it has the envelope. Does it have a date on the envelope? I really can't tell. USA, Vernon, Texas, 1808 Eagle Street, Apartment 3. Mrs. M. Oswald in Oswald's typical chicken scratch handwriting. I'm looking here at the stamp on it, and I can't tell a 61 anywhere on this thing. So the next letter is November 8th, 61. Well, let's read the context of this letter and see exactly what he's talking about. See, it's dated October 22nd, 59. Where was Oswald October 22nd? He should have been still in like in transition, right? So it's funny here because on where it says 1959, you can see the 195, and then the letter literally cuts off at the fucking 9. Okay, so there's obfuscation going on here. It looks like there's two different depths of ink because you have some of it is darker than the other. Let me see if I can read this. Dear Mother, sorry to take so long to write, but I thought sometime might have come up with what while we're still waiting. I received your birthday card on the 14th. Thanks for the thought. I'll be glad to get my books you send in the future. You might include some fashion magazines for Marina, also, if you remember it. Marina's, well, it says Marines here, but it should be Marina's. No, but he spelled it wrong. Marina's maiden name was Prusakava, her aunt and uncle's address in Minsk, and he provides the address in Minsk. They don't speak any English. However, her uncle is an army colonel, soon to retire. You needn't worry about my losing American citizenship. I can only do that if I want to, and I don't want to. For my birthday, Marina sent me a gold and silver cup with the inscription, to my dear husband on his birthday, 18X61. Very nice, don't you think? Marina is on her vacation now. She is spending it with her aunt in the city of Kharkov, about 600 miles southeast of here. She's just relaxing and taking it easy from work and housework. We both agreed that she should go to a new environment on her vacation, but she comes back in a few more days on the 29th of October. Her Aunt Paulina's address is in the city of Kharkov. Marina, unfortunately, doesn't... See, here he spells her name correctly. So he spells it with an E before, Marine, apostrophe S, Marine, so like Marines, like a Marine who owns something, Marines. But then he refers to her as Marina with an A, and it's not a handwriting discrepancy. It's clearly he spells it differently. Marina, unfortunately, doesn't speak any English at all. I would like her to learn, and I've bought some books for her on the subject, but for now, she doesn't want to learn. She speaks a little already. She learned in grammar school, and she doesn't want to study another language for now. She really does not have time, with what her working from 10 to 5 and then the housework, but it doesn't matter for now. Well, that's about all for now. I'll try to write more often. Love, Lee. P.S. Did you receive, spelt wrong, RECIVE, my letter with some pictures of Minsk in it? So, that's interesting. All right, let's continue on. So we have a discrepancy here on the date. He put October 59. Why would he do that? And then write a letter from 61 2 years later. How could he put 59 as a mistake? See, I always wonder if he knows his mail's getting intercepted. He has to know this. Is he sending some sort of messages? Because he's not that stupid. You don't spell Marina 2 different ways in the same letter. All right, let me continue. And on the envelope, it's October 30th, 61 from Vernon, Texas. Mrs. Oswald, can you explain that? She explains how it was just a mistake. As I've been saying, FBI instead of Secret Service. I mean, it just is. A slip of some kind. Yes. And then Dulles asks, is the 1959 letter available? The Metropole Hotel letter. Mrs. Oswald says, when we go into the defection, I have letters from 1959 that I myself have sent to Lee and have been returned. And gentlemen, they are unopened. And I will give you the privilege of opening my thoughts to my son. They were returned unopened because he was not located. Rankin says, I might answer your question, Mr. Dulles. We have a copy of the Metropole letter of 1959. Mr. Rankin, could I check your Exhibit 182, the one you called just before this? I gather that you gave a date of the letter and also a date of the postmark. Am I correct? October 2nd, 61 is the date of the letter, and October 10th, 61 is the postmark. That is correct. Thank you, sir. Now, with regard to Exhibit 183, which bears the date October 22nd, 59 in error, with October 30th, 61 as the postmark on the envelope, I wish to call the Commission's attention to this reference. Marina's maiden name was Prusakova. Her aunt and uncle's address in Minsk is, and then the address is set out in Russian. And then continuing the same sentence, they don't speak any English. However, her uncle is an army colonel soon to retire. And Mrs. Oswald says, and that, I would think, would be the letter that the Secret Service was one of the letters that the Secret Service, as I previously stated, had. Now, may I say something? Marina uses 2 names, Prusakova and Nikolaevna, which she was married before, or whether she uses 2 maiden names, I don't know, but I have a record of both names. Mr. Rankin then says, I offer in evidence Exhibit 183. Representative Ford says, Mr. Rankin, don't we have a record of those 2 names? Isn't one her maiden name and the other by her mother and the other by her stepfather? That is the record we have. That is what Mrs. Marina Oswald testified to. She testified in regards to Nikolaevna. And the other name appears on her papers as the father. Mrs. Oswald says, but now Lee has said in one of those letters that her name is Nikolaevna. But then when he asked me in one of the letters to get an affidavit of support that Marina could come to the United States, that the name appeared Nikolaevna. Yet there are a couple of letters where he refers to her name as Prusakova, and I have it in his handwriting when he gave me the slip of paper for the baptism he used for Prusakova. Marina Prusakova Oswald. He did not use the name in the letters. That is what I find peculiar. The explanation was that Prusakova was the identification of the father, which is often done. And she explained that with regard to the child, they did not want to name June Lee Oswald with your son's name, if you recall. That is, your son did not want that. But the Russian government insisted that the father's name had to be shown. Yeah, that's very interesting. Oswald didn't want his name on his kid's birth certificate or her name. That's wild. Damn, what are the implications of that? Anybody who can think of the implications of not wanting Oswald's name on June's birth certificate, you let me know. Diana, you know what we've discussed in the past, that Lee might not have been the father. So that's a good possibility. Mrs. Oswald says, yes, I'm familiar with that. I've done research on that. In Russia, the father's name is used even if it's a girl. Now, Mr. Peter Gregory, his name is Peter Gregory, and his father's name is Peter, so his name is Peter Gregory. They always use the father's name as a second name, regardless of sex. So June is named June Lee Oswald, which is Lee's name. And if there were 2 Lees, it would be Lee Oswald that I know of. Interesting, right? If there were 2 Lees. Mr. Rankin says, Exhibit 184 is dated November 8th, 61, and bears a postmark of November 18th, 1961. I offer it in evidence. Exhibit 185 is dated November 23rd, without any year on the letter itself, with postmark December 4th, 61. As the American postmark on the envelope, I offer Exhibit 185. Okay, then we go through 186. 87. Not really any major conflicts in date here. Anywhere from 2 to 3 weeks to have this thing stamped a second time. These are all airmail letters. They're all registered return receipt mail, everything I had to sign for. 9 or 10 days apparently it took, says Dulles. Boggs says, this is right, about 10 days each of them. Mr. Rankin says, apparently it states par avion, but this one bears a mark February 1st, 62 on Exhibit 192. And the letter itself is February 1st, 1962. That's pretty fast. All right, let's look at this letter. This is Commission's Exhibit 192. Letter from Lee Harvey Oswald, dated February 1st, 62. Let me see if I have the envelope. I do. The envelope is dated February 1st, 62. That's awful weird. And this one does not have does it have an American stamp? It does not appear to have an American stamp on it anywhere. It just has the Russian stamp. This is interesting. All right, so let me read this letter. February 1st, 62. Dear Mother, today I received 2 letters from you, from the 12th and the other one from the 17th. As for the gifts we sent you, the can is of candy. Eat it in good health. As to your questions, he spells two wrong, T-O-O. As to your questions about the money problem, I don't know if giving the story to the newspapers is too good. So he uses two, T-O-O, in 2 different contexts. Maybe you'd, and he Y-O-U apostrophe D-E. Better hold off for a while about that. I'll tell you when. The baby's due around March 1st. We'll probably fly into the U.S. on an airplane, and I see no reason for you to come to New York to meet us. I want you to understand that although you can aid us in certain small ways, this business about our coming to the U.S. is relatively simple. Don't make it more complicated than it is. About all for right now. He spells right wrong also. About all for now. Oh, right soon. There we go. Marina sends her love. And this is written February 1st and then 62 and then stamped February 1st, 62. So that's a little odd. Let me see. Anything else here with these letters? The rest of them seem to be fairly in line, 10 to 20 days on the postmark difference. It says all the documents have just been offered in evidence may be admitted and take the numbers assigned to them. The documents heretofore marked Commission Exhibit number 180 through 198 for identification were received in evidence. What is 198? Let me see. That's the last one. Letter from Lee Harvey Oswald, May 30th, 62. And then we have CE 199, a note addressed to whom it may concern, signed Mrs. Oswald, dated October 2nd, 55. So that's something totally different. Let me click on it and see what's going on in 55. Oh, this is the letter from Oswald. Well, allegedly Oswald, right? Okay, so let me explain this letter real quick. It's totally unrelated to what we've been talking about, but I'll read it to you. To whom it may concern, because we're moving to San Diego in the middle of this month, Lee must quit school now. Also, please send by him any papers such as his birth certificate that you may have. Thank you. Okay. Allegedly, I can tell you right off the bat, this is not Oswald's handwriting. This is supposedly a letter that was written by Oswald, a forgery of Marguerite Oswald, in regards to him dropping out of school and then moving to San Diego, which never fucking happened. We have no evidence they were ever in San Diego. Well, let me rephrase that. There's no evidence of a lot of things, but things that we know. So is it possible? Yeah, it's possible. It's one of those things that I'll have to dig into prior to me writing my book on the 2 Oswalds. But so this letter, God, when you look at this letter from 55, and hell, just compare it to the letters from 62 from Russia, and it's clearly not written by Oswald, the same Oswald at least. So, what else is there? Well, that looks like it's going to be it for the letters. And so, what I'm going to do is we're about 50 minutes in. I'll call it here for today. The next couple days we'll do something different, and then we'll come back to this because, like I said, we have a lot of stuff to cover on this testimony of Marguerite Oswald. But that's it for me, guys. If you're interested in a signed copy of the book for free, just go ahead and sign up for the $50 plan at my Substack. And that's all the marketing I got for today, guys. So I will be back tomorrow. Thank you much.